hopping and a bopping and a singing his song. All the little birds on Jaybird Street love to hear the robin go tweet, tweet, tweet.
Welcome to Life is Good. I'm Heather McKeown, your ever-loving hostess, and the show always looks better when I'm off camera. So, this is what we have for you tonight. This is a Canadian author, du Québec, from Quebec, so a lot of you must be related to him if you're watching the show and you live in Vermont. Anyway, he has written the most amazing book, which we will discuss tonight. Monsieur Bernard Raymond. Actually, Monsieur Raymond Bernard. I wanted to get them the full effect of what your name really is. Alors, he's written this book, and why don't you point and say what the titles are in the 3 different languages in which it's been...
Yes, of course.
Okay.
My pleasure.
À vous.
So, in French, en français,
Oui.
Être vivant et honorer la mort.
Oui.
In English, being alive and honoring death.
Yes.
And in Spanish, vivir y honorar la muerte.
That's wonderful. I know anybody watching the show who has not lost someone they love is in the distinct minority. We're going to be talking about loss and how to get through it and then make the former best friend, lover, cousin, son, daughter mean something, how their life can go on through a writing project. Thank you, Monsieur Bernard.
My pleasure.
Well, you've already seen the initial introduction where we showed the enormous poster of my guest. And now we're going to talk about an enormous life, one of giving, loving, losing, sharing, teaching, and healing. And if by chance you get a chance to get this book, Cecilia, being alive. We've both had great experiences with great loss.
Yeah, exactly.
And we both...
Thank you for sharing your experience before.
Well, we've all had those experiences. It's how we handle them that is so important. We either move on or we don't. And sometimes it takes everybody a long time to move on, but we can still do it. How did you meet Sylvie?
We were together for 17 years. And the way we just met, it was just like another coincidence instead of coincidence. I was supposed to go to a concert, and a friend of mine, I was separated for several months with my ex-wife, the mother of my 2 daughters. And then he told me, I have a concert, you want to come with us? I said, yes, of course. And when I arrived there, I just realized that it was like a crystal ball concert, and I wasn't there at that time. And the lady on the table and the entry was Sylvie. And from then my heart just boom, 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 boom. And I said, oh my God, I never felt that before. And I just go to my friend and I said, Luc, who is she? And he said, oh, it's our friend Sylvie. And so I asked him right away, she's got a boyfriend or not? She's alone? She said, yes, till 5 years now. So he said, oh, just come by for dinner. She's going to come with us for dinner. And then we met that way. And after the dinner, I just, the wife of Luc was a painter, an artist. And I just go down in the basement because the gallery was in the basement. And I just said to myself and to universe, if she's the love of my life, she's going to come down. And then from 2 minutes later, she was coming down with me in the basement. And it started like that.
It's a beautiful story. I totally believe in all that love at first sight experience. It's in The Godfather, it says it's the lightning bolt.
Exactly.
And
that's what it is.
When people say you can't be struck twice by lightning, boy, that's wrong. Because how many times in your life have you had that?
One time.
One time? Okay, so Noah is right and I'm wrong, but I've had it 3 times.
Wow.
Yeah. And you don't forget it. And it's fabulous.
You're lucky.
Well, the last time I'll never see him again. I met him that one day. We had one small half-hour conversation, maybe 20 minutes. And it's something that I came home and I wrote a poem about it, and it's called The Hug. And it's that in that 20-minute period we talked about our grandparents and how we live and what we think and what our priorities are, and that he had lost a son, and we talked about loss, and then he said, well, if I ever see you on this path again, I'll talk. And I said, well, I live in the house with the round door in Newport, and that was 30 miles from here, and he lives in some other part of Quebec. But when you have that feeling, sometimes it's unrequited. So I am so glad for you. Had Sylvie not come down, you would not have lost that feeling.
No. But Sylvie was she was really a sad woman, and because after 3 months, I don't know if I will understand your question, but after 3 months, I just asked her, you were alone for 5 years, you're beautiful, you're nice, and why me? So she just said, okay, I love you.
Oh.
But also, if you are not appeared in my life, I will not be there anymore.
You saved her life.
Yeah. So prolonged her life for 17 years, if I can say it that way.
You can.
Yeah.
It's amazing what love can do. It fills the gaps, doesn't it? Well, you were the gift she had.
Yes, and she were a gift for me also because she restored me, if I can say that. She opened my heart first and my mind and everything, and because I was too stuck with myself before, and yeah.
You had 17 years together.
Yes.
When did it start? When did Sylvie get sick?
Yeah. Okay. So I noticed in July, August 2020. So she began to lose weight at this time, and we were in a pandemic at this point, and we just decided to go. And when you feel inside yourself, in the bottom of yourself that it's gonna end.
Yeah.
But I wasn't, really aware to listen this feeling. But in my gut feeling, I knew that it's the end will be near. So as I mentioned, we just decided to travel. So we spent 5 months in Dominican Republic, 6 months in the United States doing house and pet sitting. So we traveled we go in Florida, in Houston, Texas, and those places. And 11 months later, we just come back, and everything just sets perfectly. We came back on the beginning of October, and she died on the 25th of December.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
On Christmas Day, and the gift that you received, the cadeau.
Wait.
You got when you can make something so great out of such a happening. That was again your gift from her. And you said in our first communique that it was probably the reason you met was for where you are now with this book.
Exactly.
So we're going to ask you all to listen to this now. We're going to tell you all about what's in the book. And it's a spiritual guidebook about how things matter and how to make them count. So it's all yours now. Je n'ai pas des questions de ça, c'est à vous.
So shortly after her death, I was just destroyed, and I would like to die also, to join her on this other plan, and then on the 15th of January, when I come back from the memorial event, there were a book on the floor.
And yes, it happened to fall off the shelf. Now, I have had similar experiences with the spirit world and with people who are trying to rescue me from bad situations, mainly sadness. And I don't get to the end. I've never wanted to die, but sometimes you wonder how you're going to get up in the morning. So this book fell from the shelf. And what was it? Yeah,
so this book mainly talked about, and I explain also in the book, about how we can fully welcome all emotions that we are living. And so it's like, for me, it was like a planche de salut, like a buoy.
Oh, like a buoy in the ocean.
Yeah, exactly. And so,
Or Lickman for Magog.
yeah. And then I just, what can I say? I was looking for people to help me, therapist, or it took 2 months and a half before I can see somebody. And then read the book, but mainly I lived this book. And I just came through, this is hard to explain also, but I just came fully in the welcome of sadness and fears and rage and anger and everything. So I just wrote down, there were some exercises in this book. I did that, and I explained all this in the book also. So if those exercises can help somebody else, I will be so honored also. So then the book is really how fully we can welcome our emotions. Because I asked a lot of people, how do you do that, welcome your emotions? And a lot of
It's
people
called
say,
being in Quebecois. That's what we do. But I thought everybody in Quebec could do that. But no, they're still suppressing because they have to be somebody that it's their mask.
yeah, exactly.
And it's so sad because those of us who express fully all the time are usually avoided by other people.
Yeah.
Because they think, oh my God, that person's a little out of there.
Yeah.
What we're doing is we're expressing ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we are authentic with ourselves.
Yeah. And it's the only way to be.
Yeah.
It's like, how many years?
And this way is being alive, by
is.
the way. And I know there's a lot of way to do that. So I just experienced that fully and calm, and for all emotions, welcome, and for any emotions that I lived in at this time. And I didn't expect to write a book. It wasn't in my mind at all. And I just feel that by lived that experience, I just feel myself alive. You know, this sparkle in my eyes
There's
is
a purpose.
the same.
Oh, I thought it was because you saw me when you came in the door. It's a sparkle. I never see that. No, but you know what else? When this young man came into the door, the first thing he said, may I hug you? And it's usually, généralement, c'est moi qui fais ça, eh? Toujours, c'est moi. I went, oh my gosh. He beat me to it. Great hugger. And I think that hug was more than just a hug like this, you know. It was like, my friend who was teaching metaphysics in my house when I lived away, I lived in Oklahoma for 5 years. Don't recommend it. But far too hot, far too humid, bad hair day, every day. Anyway, Martha Moore Stevens taught in my house every week the buckle of the Bible belt. We called it the spook group because she was teaching metaphysics. And I was always a hugger, but I was an Anglo hugger. Mm. You know, I was an English hugger, which means I was raised in a Victorian society, which means if you hug, oh my God, I could get pregnant. No, I don't think that's how it works. Anyway, I told you to have fun. Anyway, so she taught me how to hug genuinely, you know, to give a hug, to give that hug. And, you know, I worked for the airlines for 16 years and people need hugs. I go to this, when I was going to the schools, everyone says, you're not allowed hugging the children in school. I said, forget that. These kids need a hug, and I'm going to give it to them. Wow. And I did. And Martha taught me that. And when you came in, you give a hug better than I do. I better get out there and do some more practicing. Yeah, I think I'll go to the school and attack the high school class and go, come here, I have to practice. I have to get my hug muscles going. But no, it's the best feeling in the world when you are embraced, because it's not a hug, it's an embrace, and it's a...
That's a good, nice word in English.
It is a much better
embrace,
word, eh?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. You know what I don't like? I don't like it when people sign their emails hugs. Hugs. What's that? Sign it love. Sign it love and whatever. Love and whatever. But just don't fondly. Fondly. Sounds like a bad touch. So I really think when you live your life like you do, you don't do any of those half-measured words, half-measured feelings. You go all out.
Exactly. All in.
All in.
All in, exactly.
How has your life changed since you've had this? Because since you've had this attitude.
Shortly, I just realized that there's a Raymond before the 25th of December and a Raymond after this date. And for all those reasons, and in a full welcome, there's no labels or good or bad or anything or you should. That doesn't exist for me. So it's always like a white page on each moment. That's the way I live now. So it is hard to explain.
No, it's
really.
not. I live that life, so I'm glad you're telling us.
Yes. So and as you mentioned, I cannot live Johnny on surface. So it's all in and with intensity, of course.
And intent, proper intent.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you live this way, our questions might be to somebody, we can go up to a complete stranger and feel their pain.
Yeah.
And when you do that, what do you approach that person and just say, would you like to tell me something? Is everything okay?
Mm-hmm.
Do you do that?
Yes.
Oh, high five to you. I'll probably miss you because I'm a terrible high fiver. It's like, oh, hi, Ted. But that is looked on by people who are inhibited because they think society frowns upon that. I don't think there's enough of that. Caring, sincere, let me buy you a cup of tea. What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And you may never see this person again.
Exactly.
But you have to be there for them.
Yeah.
And that's what you are.
Yeah. Exactly.
And how did you meet Beth Barnes? Speaking of authentic people. Thank you, Beth.
Yes.
Beth put this meeting together for me, and I'm very grateful.
Yeah.
Beth is a catalyst for bringing people together who should speak to one another. And we saw that when she held public office, going hither and yon just to drag people off the street to say, this is Newport, and this is who you should talk to. And you know, attacking cyclists going, come here, this is Newport. Come and see our main street. Shop at our stores. But not everybody has that kind of nerve. Beth, that's authentic, by the way.
Exactly.
So tell me about how you met Beth.
Yes. Just before that, can I say something?
Yes!
Okay. And it's just the continuation. Sorry about that for people that are listening to me and said what he said. My God, it's obvious that I'm not American with my accent. But since the 25th of December, so for me now, each and every morning when I woke up, I have this question. Raymond, this is your last 24 hours of life on this planet.
Okay.
What are you going to do with them? So that I don't say motivated because for me it's just natural, but each and every morning when I woke up, these questions come to me. And then that's
a great question.
Just that bring me back to myself in within and say, okay, wow, okay, I'm just connected to myself. With the body, mind, and emotions in action, and that helped me for the day and stay in a moment and just be love, as you mentioned. So that's for me. I know it's simple, but it's not so simple.
It's a highly evolved old soul. C'est une soul, un esprit bien. It's typical. I mean, it's an old soul. Either American or Canadian. Yeah. Any soul in this world can be deemed, and not to judge, but we all live many lives. Mm-hmm. And some people live many lives within one incarnation. It's called a crash course in everything, when you get wise quickly. Mm. But most of us don't. We're born with all the answers, but we can't ask all the questions in one lifetime. So Sylvie gave you a crash course in getting back to your ancient being.
Exactly.
Do you have any Native American blood in you? First Nation?
I don't think so.
No?
Sylvie, yes, but...
Oui? Okay, she gave that to you.
That's the meaning of the restoration also, yeah.
She gave that to you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's nice. So that's the part of her that jumped into you.
Mm-hmm.
When my brother died, I suddenly became very good at math and science. I got 27 in algebra, and then my brother died, and I finished valedictorian. I'm like, I can't even do math. I believe that. And when my mother died, when I was young, I believe she's the gentlest person I've ever met. And she's the only person I've ever really experienced the total unconditional love of an angel, you know. Just, and so once you feel that, you can practice doing it. I've got a lot of practice left to do.
Okay.
But I believe they leave you with something, the most valuable part that you need, they leave you.
Yeah, exactly.
And if there's been intimacy in a relationship, that's not just making love, that's exchanging souls.
Exactly.
And so you were getting infusions of Sylvie for, I'm sure, a long time, 17 years. So.
And about the fusion, we fusion our body, of course, our conscience, if I can say, and we live this experience someday. We didn't expect that, but it's, for me, there's a difference between soul and spirit, but our spirit just fusion also.
Always.
So that's, and I never heard anybody yet that told me that they lived this experience with somebody that can be a wife or a husband or even a kid or a friend, but I never heard anybody that lived this experience. I know that that's existing, but I never.
Just me?
Maybe.
Yeah, I have, and that's why I wanted.
Wow.
I have, and that's why I wanted to talk to you, because as soon as Beth told me what you were writing about, I just said I have to speak with you, because it's a validation of what I feel and what I believe, and living every day. You do in 24-hour increments, and I guess we should be reminded of that, because I have never awakened saying this might be my last 24. It certainly puts a kick in the pants. You better get out of bed and do something, right?
Yes.
And there are other stories.
Not all the time, because we
sleep
are
in
still
today.
human. So,
I know.
and the conditioning of the program just came back easily.
I have no trouble relaxing, but I have no trouble relaxing. But I don't think any day is wasted if you show love, either for yourself or for trees, nature, birds, bugs. Well, not bugs, pas les babites. Give me a can of Raid and I'll be nice to you too, bug. But, sorry. All the PETA people are going to come. How dare you slap that fly? But I really believe what you're saying is true. You had another story to tell me about the significance of dragonflies.
Yes, the reason there's a dragonfly on it, there's two dragonflies, so there's a celestial dragonfly, which is Sylvie. The main reason is I bought a sailboat in the beginning of our relationship, and we going each weekend to go on the sailboat. And then on the Thursday, her father just died. So I just asked Sylvie, we can stay at home instead of going to the sailboat. She said, no, that's fine. And so we go through and ask her to lift the anchor. And she said, oh, my love, there's something on the rope. No, but I said, oh, no, not again, because she was asking me 12,000 questions an hour. And I said, I just remembered the whole Raymond. And then I said, okay, well, what is it? So I just see and said, oh, it was, gosh, brown. And then it started to move.
Sorry.
Yeah, and we just, been on the front boat of the boat there, and you just wait for what's happening, and it was a dragonfly that was just emerging, from then, and we just saw that like what was a sign of her father.
Totally.
Yeah, and saying, I'm free, that's fine, live your life, everything is fine, and thank you for taking care of me, because she took care of her father for 8 years for about Alzheimer. And so and that's the reason there's a dragonfly on the air.
Well, it's a very good symbol. My best friend Beth lives in Oakville, Ontario. She lives in Ontario,
Okay.
but I like her anyway. She's my best friend from Montreal. And her favorite thing in the world is dragonflies. And I think it might have something to do with her mom.
Wow.
And it's so funny how people give you freedom after they die. When my dad died, I came home from Canada, and I lived in Berkshire, Vermont, East Berkshire. I don't know why there's an East Berkshire, a West Berkshire, a Berkshire Center, but it's It's like we're 1,100 people living in Berkshire. It's like I'm in Berkshire en bas. You know, it's like anyway. And I had to have this massive tree cut down on my front of my house because it was really going to fall on the house. So the man came over. Well, kids came over. In where I live, you always hire kids because you have no money, and you figure, well, it's going to fall down anyway. Take a chance. Might lose the house, but it might fall on the road, might fall on the church next door. I don't know. Anyway, they cut it down. It fell beautifully, and there was a great big heart in the center of the entire trunk. Was just a big heart.
Wow.
And so I said, "That's my dad. That's my dad." And so they cut me out a great big huge chunk, and I put it up in front of the house. Wrote a story about it. They have a way of letting you know. What did Sylvie do? She gave you the book, but thanks, Miss Sylvie. Merci, madame.
Wait.
But signs that you have now.
In the last 22 months, of course, it was the what's the word in English? The design talks. Le sevrage affectif.
Detoxification, the loss of the sadness.
Yeah, exactly. So from her body was so hard on me. And then make that meal ritual that I explained in the book. And that helps me a lot. And I do a lot of ritual to help me about that. And after that, I just started to feel her love, her presence. Not only on encounter or meeting or because this is, I can write a book, 3 times bigger than this one.
It's called synchronicity.
Yeah, it's just amazing. It's just amazing.
J'ai beaucoup d'expériences de ça, moi-même. Et c'est si beau.
Beth is one of them. and then so often I just feel her love. And how do you say dose d'amour in English?
A dose of love?
Yeah, a dose of love is the same word. So I've just sometimes just driving on the road and just starting to cry of gratitude and thankfulness and everything, and just feel her that way. And some other people around me, they feel the same thing from her. So she's everywhere. And
she had to rest a little bit first. No, I'm serious. They do, They rest until they're ready to come back. She came back quickly.
Yes, and well, I told her you can live your life now, and that's fine. But she's like she's on travel, so she go back and come back, and she's like that all the time. But some people just told me I dream about Sylvie. And so it is just amazing what's happening. And by the way, I can say that maybe sounds strange for some people, but it was our agreement in the other plan before. So at the beginning, if somebody should tell me that, I would just put my fist in her face. But but for now, I know that it was our agreement. It was planned to happen like that.
Exactly.
This way.
Everything's planned. Unfortunately, we can't plan it ourselves sometimes.
No.
And
the blank sheet in
each
moment, so
everybody I know has the same questions. Are we masters of our own destiny? Are we masters of our own fate? Or are we just pieces of dust floating through the air? And I believe there's a magnetism. I believe in people being together for the right reasons, people being in the right place at the right time, people being in the right place at the wrong time, not for themselves, but for somebody else.
Exactly, yeah.
And
I totally agree with that.
And I believe you can call good to yourself, just as you can call bad. And I'll give you an example. My brother-in-law, we were at a family gathering in Ontario at some do for my family, and there was a silence in the room, and I was a flight attendant at that time, and he came up and he was mean. He's mean to his brother. His brother had just lost 100 pounds with surgery, and he said when everybody was silent, "You know that you're going to gain it all back again. You know that, eh?" And everybody was going, "How dare you?" And of course we're English, so we were too polite to say, "Shut up." It's like, and then he came up to me and he did a very poor imitation of what he thought a flight attendant acts like. And he said, if I'm on your plane, you better bring me some coffee. And I said, if I'm on your plane, Kim, you'd better hope I save your life. And 3 weeks later, I was asleep, 9 o'clock on June 2nd, woke up, and I went, Kim, and went back to sleep. And at 9 o'clock the next morning, my sister called, and she said, Heather, I've got some bad news. And I said, Kim, and she said, oh, Pam already called you? I went, no, what do you want to tell me? Kim died in a plane crash last night. And I said, I know. I know. And he was coming to apologize or ask for my help. And, or saying, you can't have my Corvette. You know, but I was not surprised. And you have to be careful what you say in this world to certain people. You can't hurt them. You can't insult them. You can't be unkind intentionally because it comes back. And so all the good you're doing now with Sylvie, because you're doing it with her.
Exactly.
You know, you brought it into this house. You brought that good in. I felt it. So wherever you go, whether you write or speak or just meet somebody on the street, you're going to bring their fate to a higher level. And I've seen that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Because I needed a kick in the pants to remember all this stuff. Because, you know, you can forget if you're not reminded of the benefits of losing someone who was in your life long enough to give love. You know? Sometimes a little bit goes a long way. And sometimes if you're lucky, you get to keep it forever. Physically, as in this life, or spiritually, in your body, in your soul. You're lucky all the way around, but I wish Sylvie was with you in person too. Because you don't hear about this kind of love very often.
No.
No.
But
So,
we can feel it right now.
yeah, I know. My brother's
so
here too.
Strongly. Yeah.
I know my brother's here too. I talk to him every night. And I talk to my mother and my father too. I keep apologizing. Sorry, I was so naughty.
We're all surrounded, really.
I know it. I believe that. If I don't talk to them, because I've got an Airbnb here, so I don't stand in the living room. I've given my family different parts of the roof, so I remember which ones are which. So Dad and Evelyn, his second wife, live in the chandelier. So I go Dad and Evelyn, then Mom and Alan, great-grandparents, grandparents, Mom and Alan, you know, aunts and uncles, and over here my father's side of the family. And then the whole place is full. I have a darn good conversation. I thank them for today. I ask them to please watch over my family. If you know, I'd like you to be here, but you know, if you want to go over to Holly or David's, feel free. And Shay, my grandson.
Exactly.
And watch over them. Teach them like you taught me. You know, Dad, you can leave your belt. I don't need the belt to teach my kids, but if you think it'll do any good, go for it. You know, but I really believe I'm talking to them because I didn't want to let them go. And so I think they're here. I know they're here. And it's really nice. It's really nice.
Wow.
Yeah. And if you know, I'm very open about this kind of feeling, and so are you. Very rare, isn't it? Hi, you talk to your parents in the ceiling today? How's that working for you? But it does work for me. It does. It's, you know, faith is the belief in things yet unseen. So is optimism. Yeah,
I think there's much more, you know, things in the invisible than the visible.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
doesn't it bug you that that man, in our infinite ignorance, thinks that we were created in God's image? I mean, he could have done better. But I'm thinking, if that's the case, you know, I said, no, how do you know? There are millions of worlds out there. Asimov was right, billions and billions. It's scary. I wish I could go and meet everybody. Don't you? Just to see how they're thinking. Because it's...
But that's the in the book there's one of the objective or goal, if I can say, is just to I ask a lot of questions in the book, and I'm asking myself those questions, but just for open, you know, just to open and people say, okay, oh yeah, I had this question. For example, is it natural for human being to suffer for such a long time, and with this lourdeur, heaviness?
Grief. And heavy.
And so for me, it's not natural for human being. Yes, for suffering, because we are in this duality, but with this heaviness, I don't think so. But we just don't know how to do it, and that I explain in the book.
How do you explain it?
Just by welcoming fully what's happening with our emotions.
Filling the holes. Donner quelque chose pour le trou. Putting something in the hole that's left when the person leaves.
But it is just only for when a people die or something like that. It's for everybody, and also for kids. That they live some they live some intimidation or something like that about kids, and then what they're gonna do with that. So we just put those feelings inside, and we just on les écrase.
We suppress.
On les enfouit.
We hide.
We hide them, and then we are stuck with them. So in the book, I just explain how to fully welcome. For example, when I come here, I just said to myself, "Oh, Raymond, thank you for that fear that I have right now. I admire you. I would like to fusion with you. That's the way I live. Mm-hmm. So I'm fusion with this energy, because fear and sadness and anger are full energy.
And they're full of natural things.
Yeah.
And we've got to have it. When you said you were nervous before the show, I thought, good, it's going to be a good show. That's right. I used to race, and if I wasn't nervous before a race, I didn't win.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I didn't win anyway. But I knew that I'd have a good race if I was really, really worried. If I didn't sleep the night before a big race, I knew I'd be okay. Because that energy is just building and building and building, and it's fear. And you let it out, but you use it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's nice if you can go into schools at a young age. If you can write a book, this is for adults, but if you can write a book for children, and then for adolescents, the same thing, but to them, you'd be doing the world a great service. And there are a lot more that you've got it in French and English and Spanish, but a lot of other languages have the same problem.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's really, you're doing great work here.
Thank you. And can I explain how I met Beth?
Yes. Yes, Beth. I thought that was. And what street corner was that, Beth? I'm pulling her leg. Go ahead.
So it started with I just decided in January, February, March, I would like to go to Newport, and I saw the Newport Natural Cafe over there, and on the internet, and I said I would like to go there, and anyway, and to write and just change mine and go anyway. I don't know what's happening with Newport, but I have like that strange feeling of I don't know what, but anyway. So I just come down at the Newport Natural Cafe, and I saw this woman with 2 cups of coffee in her hands, and she's trying to move the chair with her feet. So I just saw her and helped her, and it was Janice, by the way. And
Janice Luce? Oh.
And then so Janice just said, "Oh, thank you." So I just said in French, "Bienvenue." So I didn't remember that I was in Newport. And
half of us don't remember where we are. Yeah. You're fitting right in.
And then she said, "Oh, you're French." And so Ben, my husband, he's learning French. I said, "Oh yeah, really?" So we talked, across the room, the room over there, and he said, "Come by." And so we just decided to talk. And 1 month later, I just go to Natural Cafe again, and I said, maybe I should, ask Ben and Janice to be there with me. And so I would like them to be with me, but I didn't say nothing. So. And then 15 minutes later, when I was in the restaurant, they come by and Janice said, "Raymond, I just thought about you this morning." And I said, "Maybe we can meet at the restaurant." So we talked a little bit, and then they introduced me to Beth, and we just started to to talk and then talk about the book. And she said, "Yeah, what kind of book?" And it started from there. It was some marvelous synchronicity
It
with.
totally.
So-
You always get what you need when you need it. You don't always get what you want when you want it.
Yeah.
Beth and Brian McCraig, president of NEK-TV, is also here to see whether or not I should be fired. If either one of you have any questions to yell out for our guest, I would love it. Beth or Brian? Well, that's enough from them.
Well, actually, I do have a question.
Okay.
I think, are you going to have a reading and a discussion coming up? Is that right, in the near future here in Newport?
Yes.
Nevermore?
What
Nevermore with Larry?
Yes.
Oh!
Yes, and
yes.
this is this is because of Beth, and on the 30th of September at 11 a.m. So I'm gonna come by with.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
Larry is amazing.
It
And-
clicked right away.
Well, me too. I walked in there, and the first thing I said when I walked into the Nevermore bookstore on East Main, please go. It's right by the BPOE, Benevolent
100 East Main.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
100 East Main. I'm not good with numbers anymore, but it's right behind Buzzy's and right before the Elks, and 802 Barbecue was there this summer too. It's an amazing bookstore, and Larry is an amazing man. He has a banned book section for those of you who want to know what's being banned all over the world and all over this country, which
Wow.
should not happen. Go in and check out the banned books and then spread them around. Yes, Beth.
No,
Brian.
I was going to say, you could also maybe try to get your book into the MAC Center downtown.
Yes.
Because I have a book there, and in fact, in a couple of weeks, there's going to be a author's book reading.
And you've sold out there twice now, right?
Well, I sold out. I think I've just about sold out. I've got to order some more because I want to get some in there before the holidays. But
Oh, sure.
that's another venue that might be interesting.
Go on into the
you
MAC
can-
Center. If you're
Yeah.
watching this show and you've never been to the MAC, go on in and say maybe you should get in touch with
Right.
Monsieur
'Cause,
Bernard ici.
Yeah.
Raymond. This is
Raymond
fine.
Bernard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ben and Janice have.
Yeah,
Ben and
and they
Janice,
gave me
sure.
the tip, and the form are already filled, and we'll come back tomorrow for another interview. And so I'm gonna bring the form and the books and the money to be a member. So it's
Oh,
already.
right. So thanks.
Yeah.
Yes, Beth has another question.
Yes.
It might be worth mentioning too that on October 13th,
And
there is going to be an official book launch at the beautiful Goodrich Library
Yes.
on Main Street.
Yes.
So Raymond can give more information about that.
forget about SpaceX. We've got launches right here in Newport at the Goodrich Library on the 30th of October.
Yeah, Friday the 13th.
Is it Friday the 13th?
Yes.
The plays 1-3, Friday the 13th.
So,
which for me is good luck.
Yeah, and so we're gonna start at 5 p.m. at the Newport Natural. So I'm gonna be there and meet people before if they want. If they cannot come for the official launch at 6:30, so they can meet me and all the team with Beth and Janice and everybody there at 6:30. So it's gonna be the official launch, and if I can say that. And I would like also to thank Joanne, the director of the library, which is such a nice woman, and she said, yeah, I'm gonna do a big poster to put outside, and just think happenings, and I just say, my God, this is just greater than me.
Well, on dit toujours à nos amis de Québec, bienvenue.
Oui.
We say always to our friends from Quebec,
Yeah.
you're welcome. And Beth has another question.
I don't have a question, I just want to make a comment that this is neighbor reaching out to neighbor across the border.
Of course.
Yeah.
We have a border that divides us, but we are still family and friends. So
Yeah.
Raymond is our neighbor to the north in Magog, and he came to Newport Natural for a reason many months ago. And now it's just, we're seeing why. It's very exciting to see this cross-border friendship growing.
It works for me. C'est beau pour moi parce que je suis québécois moi-même. Yes. I grew up 10 miles from the end of my driveway here in Cedarville, Quebec, on Lake Nipissing.
And we make a lot of promotion in Quebec right now with our website and everything, and Facebook pages to invite people to come to Newport and, you know, to do this. And Beth just opened this cultural exchange between us and, you know, human being, you know, encounter and so on. So thank you, Beth, for...
Thanks,
yeah,
Beth.
for,
You're bringing my home and native land back to me. Merci beaucoup, madame. C'est bien. Anything to add to that, Brian? No? Good. Okay. No, kidding. Didn't give you a chance.
No, I'm good. Yeah.
Really?
I think we covered everything.
Well, I really
Yeah,
want to thank
yeah.
Beth and Brian for coming.
Yes,
and
thank you.
Monsieur Raymond Bernard, c'est une bonne expérience pour moi. C'est la meilleure expérience
oh.
parce que vous parlez de ma cœur, vous parlez de mon esprit. C'est nécessaire d'avoir quelqu'un qui comprend.
Exactly.
And what I said was thank you very, very much, because the book, which I haven't read because I just received my copy, thank you.
My pleasure.
But this kind of conversation, the opening up, the sharing, the 24-hour-a-day living, and even if we've lost something, whether it's a family member, a friend, a job,
Yeah.
your home, we've all lost something at one point.
Yeah, exactly.
And those of us who survive, it's fine, but it's better to thrive. So you take those negative experiences and you take all the experiences and turn them into something as a learning experience and bring the spirits with you and wrap them around you like a cloak. And they never go. They can't unless we let them go, and I'm just too selfish. I keep mine with me. Anyway, merci Monsieur Bernard.
Merci.
Bienvenue. Thanks for watching Life is Good.
Thanks, everybody.
It was really a pleasure tonight, eh? Thank you.
He rocks in the treetop all the day long, hopping and a bopping and a singing his song. All the little birds on Jaybird Street love to hear the robin go tweet, tweet, tweet. Rockin' Robin, rockin' Robin, slow rockin' Robin, 'cause we're really gonna rock tonight.